going to talk about walking the talk, the work that we do and the way in which we support ourselves and each other in not just talking about climbing the mountain, but actually climbing it together and supporting each other when the going gets a little tough sometimes and it's rough and we're at the bend in the road or where we just crested a ridge and we realize, oh, wait, there's a whole nother one right there. I still have to go over. Because we can talk about where we want to go. We can talk about the life of our dreams. We can talk about living a spiritual life and being peaceful and centered and really knowing God. And then we get up and out of bed in the morning. Right? Or not. And then we have to deal with traffic, and we have to deal with our coworkers, and we have to deal with all the stuff that's going on, and we have to deal with our lives. And I don't know about you, but sometimes, particularly when I feel the most off-center, it's my favorite time to come on a Sunday morning and sing. When we sing communally together, there's something about how that refreshes my soul and restores me to how I think life can be, should be, and who I want to be. Amen. Yeah, isn't that true? Right? Yeah. And so it's one of the reasons why we do so much of that. And yet, what I also know is that I can't always rely on something outside of myself to recenter me. Sometimes I'm not here singing with all of you. I'm in my life. And I have to have the principles and practices. I have to know what I believe, and I have to know how to apply it. And so we have a huge, huge commitment that we ourselves as ministers, that we as leadership, that we in our volunteer program, that we as a community, that we learn how to walk the talk and not just talk about it. And that we support each other, and that we grow together, and that we forgive each other when our feet have gotten a little wet, or maybe we're up to here in the river, and we're all of that stuff, right? We have the opportunity of being that together. But we specifically pay attention to the growth of our teaching and the practice of it. So, what is our teaching? What is this thing we call the science of mind? So lots of people have asked Ernest Holmes while he was alive, the founder of Science of Mind, and there's lots of answers to that question. But my favorite answer to that question he gave later in his life, in the 50s. He gave this answer. What is this thing that we teach and practice? He says the science of mind is a correlation of the revelations of religion, the opinions of philosophy, the laws of science, as applied to the needs of humanity and the aspirations of humankind. So you can see he's weaving together that golden thread, those truths that correlate with each other, whether you're looking into the traditions, the spiritual traditions, the philosophical traditions, or the scientific point of view, to see those which reinforce each other in a way that makes sense. Now, I've added to Ernest Holmes' statement. I can do that, right? Because we don't think he's a guru or God. And we can have our own relationship to this material. So I've added, and the practices of psychology. Because psychology was very new when Ernest Holmes was first starting to write. And many people consider science of mind, like Buddhism, a spiritual psychology. And when we apply the revelations of religion, the opinions of philosophy, the laws of science, and the practices of psychology to our lives, do you see we can apply them to our needs? Because we all have needs, and we have things that are working maybe not so well, or they're not working the way we would like them to be working. We can apply these things to our needs and to our highest aspirations. That thing that draws us forward, the vision that we have for ourselves, for our life, who our greater yet to be is. And we explore what are these principles and practices that move in all of this, that correlate together, that create a foundation and a rich practice for us to fulfill our needs and support our greatest aspirations. And so that's what we're up to from a teaching point of view, from a practice of science of mind point of view. Now, the CSL Global Vision, they say it a little differently. The CSL Global Vision says we strive to assist individuals in their evolutionary awakening process. Now, do you see, I really resonate with this statement because it's not all about fixing what's wrong with us and healing our hurts. Really, don't you get tired of constantly staring down the hole of your woundedness? Like, really? Oh, God. And of course, what we know is what we focus on grows. So we do have to acknowledge it and to do the work on it, but we do not have to become obsessed by it. And we're already perfect. We're already spiritual beings having a human experience, perfectly expressing the truth of who we are through all of the experiences and filters in all of our life up until this moment. But we are constantly evolving to the awakening of ourselves and the truth of our being. And I love this idea that we are not just improving, not just fixing or healing or cleaning out, but we're actually evolving into our greater yet to be. And what is that but an awakened consciousness? And I love that this statement has an ing in it, an awakening process. Because we're all on the path, aren't we? And sometimes the road has dips and bends and corners and detours and stop signs and all kinds of things along the way. And yet we're committed to our own and each other's evolutionary awakening process. That means we break out of the old and we embrace the new. So CSLDallas has taken these things and sort of combined them into a part of our mission statement, and that is to teach and practice authentic spiritual living and the science of mind. To teach and practice authentic spiritual living and the science of mind. And when we spent time on this mission statement, that word authenticity was really important. Because that word authentic is what keeps it from being simply a theory, simply something what we talk about, but actually to authentically live it and to authentically acknowledge when our feet are wet and when we're struggling or when we've forgotten or when we've gotten off the path, to authentically acknowledge these things and to support ourselves and each other back on it with the principles and practices. You see, again, it's not about just talking about it. It's about doing the work. And I know, it's so funny. You know, sometimes people have a little issue with the word the work. We're going to do the work. And why can't it all be ease and grace? Well, it can be ease and grace. But I also experience that there's effort in it. There's effort and discipline, and there is intentionality. And I think of that as the sweat, right? That's the sweat. That's the when you're huffing and puffing because you've had to try to spend the last 3 days paying attention to not obsessing about the person who really made you angry. That is work, right? I mean, isn't that truth, right? Or being peaceful when you don't feel it because you're so far behind that you're panting to keep up. Or you just feel, I don't really know what is going on with my life. I'm talking to my son right now, and he's like, yeah, I'm sitting on my bed, not really motivated. We have those moments, right? We have all of those moments. And there's work that pulls us up, pulls us out. So I want to read to you this, this poem by Rumi. He says this: "Let me paint a parable for you. There is a river of fresh water and a world-consuming fire. Few desire fire. Most want water. But some sort of topsy-turvy game is being played because those who immolate themselves in the flames find themselves floating in cool water, while those who bathe in the water reemerge in the scorching flames. Very few understand this mystery, so very few voluntarily choose fire. How often do we try to pray away the work that we actually have to do? We seek ease and grace because we don't want to confront the fact that we have to fill in the blank, do the forgiveness work, take the discipline of our, restraint of pen and tongue, stop resisting, go for it and make it, that we, whatever it is. And we want it to be all ease and grace and loving and easy. And then we discover that fire over and over again, don't we? That's called serial relationships and serial bosses who all look the same, and serial issues in our lives, health-wise. And, we find ourselves in the same situation over and over and over again, going to the practitioner. I have to tell you, one time, this was really true for me. I thought, I have been going to a practitioner for 10 years, and I'm still telling the same story. I am not doing the work, am I? I'm thinking somehow it's going to magically get fixed. But if I keep finding myself over and over and over again in the same place, I'm not willing to walk through the purifying fire that clears out my consciousness, my behaviors, my thought processes, whatever it is, my belief in my own humanity, my belief in my own limitations. Do you see? That's the fire that we have to be willing to embrace and walk through. Otherwise, we seek nothing but the cool water, and over and over and over again, we reemerge into the same fire over and over and over again. But when we willingly choose the fire, the initiation of spiritual awakening, the willingness to really allow the chaff to be burned away, and then we find ourselves emerging into that place where we recognize, wow, we're no longer living in fear. Wow, yeah, wow, life is really different. All of a sudden, it's like, it is actually more ease and grace. It is actually like unfolding in some way that I can't describe. Do you see? And then because we've willingly gone through the fire, we emerge in that cool water. So while I come to Sunday mornings and I feel inspired by the music and I feel so lifted and recentered by the music, and hopefully you come on Sunday mornings and are inspired by the message to continue moving forward, or, a little glimmer of something new. The truth is that it is in our education system, in our classes, in that process where we do the work, where we voluntarily choose the fire. Ask anyone who's gone through inward journey, right? Or even foundations class, coming out transformed. Every class is an opportunity to voluntarily walk in the fire of our own, the release of our own greatness. And so over and over and over again, every 2 or 3 or 4 years, this cycles back around. It becomes a priority for us. And in 2017, we have a huge priority toward expanding the mind. This whole process, this whole support system that we have in our education program to expand the mind. Now, you'll notice that the mind isn't just the brain. The mind is the heart-brain system, right? There are as many brain cells in the heart, and actually in the gut, just about, as there are actually in the brain. And so when Ernest Holmes says expand the mind, when he uses universal mind, he means the totality of our being, our fullest awake self. And so we have recommitted this coming year with all of these beautiful new classrooms that we have recommitted once again to make this education process our priority, to really focus on it. And so some of the ways in which we're doing that in 2017 is that we have become a certified ministerial training center for Centers for Spiritual Living. So yes, so that's very exciting. So we've done the footwork and the paperwork and we're approved. Now next year we'll start putting all the systems in place, and we hope to have our first class probably in 2019, maybe 2018, but probably in 2019 we'll have our first ministerial class. If you know someone who's interested in ministerial training and is on the path, you have them see me, because this is very exciting. Now, the next thing we're working on in 2017 is to become a CSL certified online education center. And yes, and so we're doing that paperwork now, we're doing that, and then we have to spend 2017 figuring out, what does that mean? How do we do that? What equipment do we need? Who knows how to teach online? Because it's very different than teaching in a classroom, right? So we're going to spend a whole lot of time in 2017 really focusing on this. Education has changed in the last 30 years since I became a minister. We're more mobile. People are they're out of town a lot. There's a lot of things and activities going on, and sometimes it's harder to have that long-term commitment to class. And so we want to create these hybrid experiences where people can be online and in the classroom at the same time, or just purely online, and really get the message out in a whole new way. We have many new certified practitioners and teachers, lots of new practitioners coming through who want to start teaching. We're attracting amazing new teachers that you'll see in 2017 to really expand our program in a deepening, widening way. And finally, in 2017, we're going to become one of the beta test sites for the new Centers for Spiritual Living course curriculum. Tracy Brown and I are on the lifelong learning program with Centers for Spiritual Living, and there's an entirely new program being developed, and we're going to be one of the beta test sites to start testing some of this new curriculum. So all of you have taken a lot of classes. There's going to be a whole slew of new classes for you to take. And to give, good feedback on. But all of this is in service to this notion of teaching and practicing the science of mind, understanding and integrating the principles and practices, and then learning how to live them. And of course, that's the most annoying thing about classes, right? Week after week. Well, no, I didn't meditate again this week. Oh, man, I didn't do all my homework again this week. No, I didn't watch myself talk this week, right? At some point, you get tired of saying that, and you start doing the work, don't you? I mean, that's one of the most powerful reasons, if no other reason, for being in class, because week after week after week after week after week, there is that support to practice, right? Teach and practice. So we have to do that. We have to do that longer term, ongoing walk together. So, are you ready to grow? Yes. So, I want to see you in classes. I want to see you signing up for classes. I say this on a regular basis. You should take a minimum of one class a year, period. I don't care how many classes you've been in. Just pick one. Even if it's one you've taken before, take it again. You're a different person than you were when you took it. Or watch for new classes. It's really good to be in two classes a year, kind of the first half and the second half of the year, because it's easy to drift away, isn't it? We have people in classes over and over who come back to me and they say, gosh, it's been a couple years since I've taken a class, and I really drifted away. And so I'm recommitting to my spiritual practice. I'm recommitting to myself. And it's like, yes, that's what it takes for us to grow and to be in that supportive community together. I didn't go through AA. I handled all of my addictions with drugs and alcohol, Science of Mind was my AA. I went to class every night, 4 days a week. I was there Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights. I was there Friday if there was an event, and I was helping out on Saturday. Why? Because it forced me to practice every single day. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this. What is it that we practice? I have been walking this path of Science of Mind for many, many, many years. I walked into my first community in 1977, 78. And there was something that they were teaching there that spoke to my soul. And there was something that I was learning that felt like it gave me a handle onto my life. And I call this the mysticism and the metaphysics of Science of Mind. The mysticism is the experience of the divine. It's the recollection of who we truly are. It's the remembering the I am that I am, and that is actually that great I am. And the metaphysics are the principles that teach us there is a power for good in the universe, and we can use it. That teach us how to follow in the footsteps of the master teacher Jesus. It is done unto you as you believe. Ask, believing you have already received, and you shall receive. These are powerful spiritual principles that in our metaphysics we learn to get a hold of. Ernest Holmes talks about them this way. He talks about the presence and the principle. That's the cornerstones of the teaching, presence and principle. And in one of his very last talks that he gave in 1959, he was exhorting folks about the work. He was exhorting folks about the work of Science of Mind and the teaching of it and the practicing of it. And he said this, he said, all spiritual traditions have the presence. They all court the divine, they talk about prayer, they seek to experience God. What we add to the table is a profound understanding of principle. How to use that in our lives, consciously co-creating with the divine. But we can never forget that half of our practice is presence. Presence and principle, he talks about it. In the Science of Mind textbook, he says this, all is love and all is law. Love is the impulsion, law is the way love unfolds in the world. When we are practicing the Science of Mind, you see, we are practicing these two things simultaneously. We're fully engaged in the courting of the presence, in the divine experience of the truth of who we are, and we're fully engaged in practicing the principles and the practices that allow us to show up in the world as if that were really true. And so that our outward life is in alignment with our inner experience. Love and law, this then is our teaching. Co-equal, co-eternal. You cannot have one without the other. Ernest Holmes goes on to say this. One of the great difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove may or may not be true, but that which we can prove certainly must be and is true. Karen talked about it, I think it was last week, in the last couple of weeks. Prove me now. Prove me now. Prove what a life looks like when we are aligned with the truth of who we are and when we are practicing those spiritual principles. And so our whole commitment to this being in classes, you hear me say this over and over and over again, it's not just to your brain, it's not just to your intellectual understanding. It is so that we grow in the fullest that we can be. Your time as a caterpillar has expired. Your wings are ready. So let us pray. So just taking a moment to breathe in. We breathe in that love, that infinite reality, that one presence that lifts and sustains all of life, that so fully seeks to rise unencumbered within each one of us and all of creation. It's the beauty of a sunset, the joy of a rose, smile of a child, us reaching our hands out to those in need and lifting each other up when we have that to celebrate. Love. And that love moves in and through and as each one of us, compelling us, urging us, guiding us, pushing us, pulling us into our greater yet to be. And so this morning, let us stand in bold declaration that yes, we seek to grow. Yes, we choose to become. Yes, we allow our wings to emerge. And we are willing to be guided by the wisdom and intelligence of the universe to do and to learn and to practice and to be all of that. We welcome the fire that purifies, that initiates, that awakens. And as this fire burns so brightly, we share that fire together, and we are a light in the world, a light in each other's lives, a light for ourselves. And we are lifted into that great, beautiful life that is the divine made manifest. So as we know this truth, we simply are grateful for all that is here for us, here at CSL Dallas, each other, our teachers, our classes, the opportunities to grow. Grateful, grateful, grateful. And in that gratitude, we simply let it be, and we say together, and so it is.